¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Derry Bennett, Kamikaze, and Michael Astor Heat. Welcome, everybody. I hope everyone's doing okay. Biden still not dropped. Indeed. Indeed. Pretty absurd if you ask me at this point. Happy Wednesday. How are you? Good to see you on Twitch. Welcome, Lee Spanner. Mouselander, welcome. Lots of news today, indeed. Alright, folks, we gotta get started because today I gotta skedaddle a little bit early. So let's get started, folks. The usual disclosures. Thank you all for stopping by. Thank you all for hanging. I appreciate it. If you want to continue to support the channel, there are many different ways. Continue liking the stream. I see you on YouTube. Like the stream, folks. Keep liking it. Subscribe. Consider checking out the merch store and join the Discord, folks. Join the Discord. Alright, folks. Let's get started. George Clooney has fallen, folks.
I don't think people quite understand how big of a deal this is, as George Clooney has come out to ask Joe Biden to step aside. I'm going to get to this New York Times op-ed that is, I think, the biggest blow to the Biden campaign since his...
Can I just take a second? I like his shirt. Yeah, it's pretty nice. You know, I don't understand what was wrong with his studio. He should have just left videos like this from the beginning instead of using the green screen. Hello, person that's been banned in a couple of channels. Clooney time, indeed. Should Biden declare martial law and cancel elections to save democracy? Man, if this isn't a troll, I don't know what is. I think he wanted to look more professional. I don't know his mind. Hey, I mean, this looks pretty good. I don't know. Personally, it looks more. It looks more YouTube-y. Like he is a YouTuber. This definitely looks like a YouTube scene or background, I should say. This definitely looks like a YouTuber background. I don't know. I think you should keep it.
his terrible debate performance. And I'm not just saying this because George Clooney is, a famous actor. I'm saying this because he is a well-known Democratic fundraiser. In fact, last month he held...
The whole my screen fell down, so I'm not rehanging it. It's really working for him. We just need some, like shelves and maybe some pop figures. Yeah, there you go. Some shelves, some pop figures. The top fundraiser, yep.
Or co-hosted the largest fundraiser for any Democratic candidate ever. So this headline from The Hill: Biden enlists Obama, George Clooney, Julia Roberts for star-studded mega fundraiser. Here is an image from that event. And Clooney references this as well in the beginning of his
and a cat
op-ed. So George Clooney, I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee. This is what is going to move Joe Biden. It's not about the people.
I doubt it. I'm going to disagree here. I'm gonna disagree. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it doesn't matter. I think he's convinced that he's going to win this somehow. I don't know. I wanted Biden out before George Clooney said anything. True. But unfortunately, this is America, and ultra wealthy donors have more voice than all of us put together.
It's not even really about the party that much. It's about the donors. Once you lose big Democratic donors,
Exactly. Exactly. It's literally just about the donors.
you lose. You are that is what is going to force his hand, if anything is going to force his hand. Now, of course, Biden has a massive ego, as anyone that runs for president likely does. But this is so foundational to how party politics operates, where when a massive fundraiser like this comes out and somebody who is famous, well known and loved, like George Clooney, it's going to move people, not even just within the party, but also within Biden's own circle.
Maybe, but ultimately it's up to him, right? Ultimately it's up to him. Now, in theory, yeah, this would be one of, if not the final nail in the coffin, right? In theory. I just don't see it, though.
So he starts off by referencing here his largest fundraiser ever for Joe Biden. He also says he was with Joe Biden 3 weeks ago at a fundraiser, and he was not the Joe Big Effing Deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. Telling people, believe what you're seeing. Do not believe what the Biden campaign or the White House is saying to defend Joe Biden. Believe what you saw at the debate. That is who Joe Biden is now. He goes on to say, we are not going to win. I think I missed a piece here. At some point, he says he loves Joe Biden. Here we go. I love Joe Biden. I consider him a friend. So they're close. He isn't just a fundraiser. He knows Joe Biden well. And he goes on to write here, we are not going to win in November with this president. We won't win the House, and we're going to lose the Senate. This
Amazing. Amazing. Man, this is going to be phenomenal, right? So not only are we giving the conservatives the key to the White House, but in the process, we're making sure that they have the House and potentially the Senate. Amazing.
this is the opinion of every senator and congress member and governor that I've spoken with in private. Every single one, irrespective of what he or she is saying publicly. This also, I think, helps to sort of give the green light to some of these individuals to maybe come forward. And I'm going to share a bit of that in a second here, where somebody was called out for saying something privately and has now acknowledged what he said publicly. So I'll get to who that Democratic senator is in a minute here.
Michael
But he goes on to write, the dam has broken. We can put our heads in the sand and pray for a miracle in November, or we can speak the truth.
I'm pretty sure he's going to talk about Michael Bennett.
Looking at all of the data that we have all seen, and I'm going to reference in a second here as well, from CNN, the comparison where Biden was sitting at in polling in 2020 compared to where he's sitting now, and ultimately what happened in 2020 and how off the polling was, how it overestimated Joe Biden's support. He goes on to write, so here are some options that at least he's floating.
Hours after being sworn in, Joe Biden reversed.
Joe Biden. Yeah.
Wes.
I don't see Hillary anywhere. I wonder why. Joe Biden will bring down the House in the election, and they will talk about the mistakes the Dems have made. Yep. And what AOC did today. Yes. Okay. So real quick. So AOC decided to file articles of impeachment against Clarence Thomas. Here, I got it right here.
More, Kamala Harris, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, Andy Bashir, and JB Pritzker. I've said in a video last week about this where, according to FEC guidelines, only Kamala Harris can legally receive the fundraising money that the Biden campaign has already raised, unless they want to go through a PAC, but then there's issues with that in terms of the campaign would no longer be able to communicate with how the PAC uses that money. And the ad rates for PACs are higher than the ad rates for campaigns. So basically, there are all these barriers if the candidate that replaces Biden is not Kamala Harris. But because Kamala Harris is the VP and is already on the ticket for president, she's the one that can easily receive that fundraising money. He was on the right. We could go into a Democratic convention next month and figure it out, which, again, that's better than having Biden on the ticket. But I just think it makes the most sense to have Kamala Harris there based on how the process works. But he goes on to finish here. This can be an exciting time for democracy, as we've just seen with 200 or so French candidates who stepped aside and put their personal ambitions on hold to save their democracy from the far right. I covered this in my video on the French elections, where...
Just a political cover move. Maybe so. But definitely, I think that Alito, Thomas, and Roberts, I would add to the list, deserve it. Let's just be very clear. The chances of the impeachment process going anywhere is very little. Yeah.
You had the expectation in France was that the far right was going to win based on how the first round of voting went. And then the center and the left coalesced and dropped out in some races to essentially give whoever was more likely to win that race the upper hand in order to defeat the far right. Now, it's different, of course, the way the system works in the US. It is not a parliamentary system. There isn't multiple rounds of voting. But essentially the same philosophy here of working together to ensure that the far right in Donald Trump and the GOP do not win. He goes on to end saying Joe Biden is a hero. Again, this is sort of speaking to Joe Biden here. He's a hero, saved democracy in 2020. We need him to do it again in 2024 by, of course, not resigning, but stepping aside in the candidacy. Now, I'll play a bit of this. So this is from Harry Enton here from CNN. Biden is saying that 2020 polls underestimated him, so why believe them now? When it comes to the general election, that's not true. Polls overestimated him.
I just want to point out where the polls are now, where they were at this point back in 2020, and Joe Biden's worst position in the polls back in 2020. Right now, Donald Trump leads in an aggregate of national polls by about 3 percentage points. If you go back 4 years ago at this point, Joe Biden was ahead by 9 points. This right now don't look anything like what we saw 4 years ago at this point. I then decided to take it a step further. What was Biden's worst 2020 polling position? He was ahead by 4 points, which basically matched what he ended up beating Donald Trump by in the national popular vote. So this 3-point advantage for Donald Trump is Donald Trump's best position versus Joe Biden, whether you include the polls this year or you include the polls last cycle. The idea that the polls underestimated Joe Biden last time around, simply put, does not hold any water. Who led in early July polls? Well, right now, Donald Trump is ahead. Go back in 2020, a Democrat, Biden. 2016, Hillary Clinton, a Democrat. 2008, 2012, a Democrat. Even in 2004, where George W. Bush ended up winning, John Kerry was actually ahead in the polls at this point. You have to go all the way back to 2000, to George W. Bush being ahead in the early July polls. You have to go all the way back to the end of the 20th century, beginning of the 21st century, to find a Republican ahead at this point. 24 years. At this particular point, the idea that a Democrat is ahead, there are voters in the electorate who are dealing with a poll position they have never seen before, and that is a Republican leading in the national popular vote, at least according to the polls.
A very unusual situation.
So understand, this is what these people are looking at, whether it's fundraisers like George Clooney or Democratic politicians or Democratic strategists. They are looking at the math. They're seeing where Joe Biden was in 2020 and seeing where he is now and seeing where he has been consistently during.
Not good. No, not good at all. I saw videos of Trump freezing like McConnell did. Yeah, 100%. Have you seen, like, well, it's just that there's a lot of, there's a lot of material to pull from, but, like, man, the classic one where he was saying that there's airports in the revolution. I mean, let's be very clear. Trump's brain is also pretty freaking cooked. No doubt about it.
In this race against Donald Trump and realizing that Democrats are going to get destroyed if Joe Biden is at the top of the ticket. This may go to why there wasn't as much of this worry before the debate, or I should say before the primary, because there was sort of this idea that, oh, it's okay, it's all going to work out. You know, lots of time, Biden can turn this around. And once that debate happened, it was really sort of the real start of the campaign in realizing, oh, wait, this guy simply does not have the ability to turn this campaign around.
Yeah, and it's 4 months or 5, whatever. At the time was like 5 months, almost 5 months. Now there's 4. And in a couple weeks, there's going to be 3 months left to the election. Can you believe that?
I'm going to share a few clips here from various Democratic politicians out either this morning or last night, coming out to discuss this. Let's start with Nancy Pelosi, who was on Morning Joe, and look at how she answers.
Barack Obama comes out and asks him to step down. He will. I don't know. I don't know. Man, an act of God. God himself needs to come down and tell him, like, yo, stop it. Step down.
This question.
Do you have your support to be the head of the Democratic ticket?
As long as the president it's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short. I think overwhelming support of the caucus. It's not for me to say. I'm not the head of the caucus anymore, but he's beloved. He is respected, and people want him to make that decision, not me.
He has said he has made the decision. He has said firmly this week he is going to run. Do you want him to run?
Nancy is a dragon lady. Only if Hillary or Jill. Man, Jill and Hunter Biden might have like the best chances of convincing him to step down, but no.
I want him to do whatever he decides to do, and that's the way it is. Whatever he decides, we go with.
Does he have your?
I mean, Biden has said several times now, I am running. I am the candidate. Like, since the debate, he has said this. And Nancy Pelosi is pretending he still has a decision to make. Or I shouldn't say pretending. She is saying that he still has a decision to make, meaning that there is this continued pressure, and they are essentially waiting on him to decide not to run because they've heard the decision already and are unwilling to accept what his decision so far has been.
Yeah, no
meaning
help.
This debate is still going on internally. Here is this guy that was exposed with the truth. So Michael Bennett was, so you'll see in this clip, but he apparently said behind the scenes that Biden cannot win, and now he is saying it publicly.
My colleague Dana Bash reported that you, Senator John Tester, and Senator Sherrod Brown all said during that lunch that you don't think President Biden can win in 2024. Is that true?
Well, it's true that I said that, and I did say that behind closed doors, and you guys and others asked whether I had said it, and that is what I said. So I figured I should come here and say it publicly.
Why do you think he can't win in November?
I just think this race is on a trajectory that is very worrisome if you care about the future of this country. Joe Biden was 9 points up at this time. The last time he was running, Hillary Clinton was 5 points up. This is the first time in more than 20 years that a Republican president has been up in this.
And she lost. Nancy's giving a strong hint, though. Yeah. Thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Mama Bear.
Part of the campaign. Donald Trump is on track, I think, to win this election and maybe win it by a landslide and take with him the Senate and the House. And so for me, this isn't a question about polling. It's not a question about politics. It's a moral question about the future of our country. And I think
props to Bennett. He's not perfect, the corporate dem, but he actually wants to win. Yeah, he's 100% correct in this line of thinking. He's 100% in this correct in this line of thinking. That guy looks familiar. Yes, Senator Bennett. Welcome, Carpet Packs.
It's critically important for us to come to grips with what we face if together we put this country on the path of electing Donald Trump again.
I mean, he said it's not about polling. It kind of is about polling because if Biden was ahead of Trump by like 20 points, we wouldn't be having these discussions. But he's not. The math shows.
Yeah, he ran. Did he run in 2020? Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. I thought it was 2016, but no, I think you're right. I think it was 2020. Yeah, I'm like 99% sure. He has that Fred Willard look to him.
Going to lose, clearly. That is why these discussions are now going on. Last one here. This is Senator Blumenthal. I am deeply concerned about President Biden.
I am deeply concerned about Joe Biden winning this November because it is an existential threat to the country if Donald Trump wins. So I think that we have to reach a conclusion as soon as possible. And I think Joe Biden, as the Democratic nominee, has my support.
Brian, give me a reaction. And how are they going to...
That's useless. basically acknowledging the fact that we're gonna end up with Trump winning, but also I'm just gonna support the nominee anyways, the one that's currently on the losing path. Phenomenal.
To ultimately reach that conclusion he discusses.
Now, what's remarkable about what Senator Blumenthal had to say there is that he supports Joe Biden. He's never wavered. He's been someone who, right after the debate, even said that he was still believing that he should be the nominee. So the idea that in the same breath that he says he supports Joe Biden as the nominee, that he also says he has...
Yeah, I love that. I see a lot of that on Twitter. Biden can't win, but we're still going to shame you for not supporting him. Amazing logic by the libs.
Real concerns that Donald Trump could win in the fall. It shows this kind of murky position that congressional Democrats are leaving the president in, and why there is this necessity, as he rightly points out, for them to figure something out and do it sooner rather than later.
I think this goes to the understanding why a lot of these politicians are unwilling to be clear about them clearly wanting Biden not to be the candidate. I think they're afraid of who Biden is as somebody who has an ego. They may think, and they may think this correctly because they know him, that if they're very forceful in trying to push him out, that Biden will simply take that as a power move and that he's not going to back down to other people trying to, one-up him, that he will simply fight back and double down. Whereas if they again, this is what they're believing. I'm not even sure if this is true.
It's worse on Twitter if you say Biden should step down. It's definitely dividing everyone. Yeah, and there's no reason for that too, right? Like the whole point, assuming, right? The whole point is to block the fascist attempting to win power. At the very least, assuming that the Dems want to actually win the election. This makes no sense.
But they're thinking that, if we do this privately and try to push them along privately.
Also, just like on a side tangent, I think that David should leave his LED light on green to stay with that, to stay on the Rational National brand, instead of like it cycling through all the colors. I'm just saying
that we have a better shot at him actually making this decision himself, or essentially waiting for someone like George Clooney, who clearly this isn't a power move for him. George Clooney is not a Democratic politician, but it's just a donor who is worried about the future of the party. It's more likely, I think, that Biden would listen to someone like that as opposed to listening to another senator who Biden may take as, again, someone trying to take his power. So this whole debate gets into egos and how politicians operate on a level mentally that others simply do not. Like, it's unfortunate. Politics should really be about public service. Like, that's what it is about, or they should be about. But a lot of people, especially when it comes to national politics, it's about ego. It's about camera time. It's about power.
Yep.
So knowing all of those elements are at play, these Democrats are being a lot more careful with how they treat this. But since this George Clooney thing has come out, I really think this, out of anything so far since the debate, this is going to move the needle the most. But still, ultimately, it's up to Joe Biden to make that decision.
It is. And that's the problem. It is, and that's the problem.
I'm sure we'll get into this, but apparently the reporting out of this House Democrats meeting is that a bunch of members were crying, and there's deep discontent about how to move forward. But it's like, could you guys not, like, I don't really need you to cry, I just need you to act. And it's just odd that the Democrats, despite talking about all this democracy and everything, are making these decisions in these closed-door meetings when you poll and talk to voters, and it's pretty overwhelming. But
the problem is that voters have voted.
That's the thing. Dayan made that point, is that there's no democratic mechanism right now except for, and that's part of why I think, I've been vocal on this, at least trying to ramp up the pressure while we can. But there's only so much we can do.
That's from the beginning. It really is only having the leaders of the basically the Democratic Congress, the House and the Senate, maybe a couple of other this is all Game of Thrones stuff on some level, except for
Sam got beat up here. I'm here for it. So sometimes Sam needs to take an L ever so often. I think this is appropriate.
Not a game. And it's a real problem. It's a real
Nice
problem.
Next time the Democrats are up for re-election in the presidency, because I don't think that democracy's over. I think probably Democrat will win a presidential election again in my lifetime, even if Trump's going to win this year. It'd be nice to maybe have a robust primary in the middle of it, especially if that guy's 80, instead of the party conspiring to foreclose that possibility.
But I mean, this is the point. I mean, this is the point, is that there, I don't know, like, what was the conspiracy? The point is that no one thought it was in their best interest to run in this primary. And there was some instances, I guess, where, like, but Florida hasn't had a primary with a sitting president in ages. I mean, none of...
Yeah, that's kind of a problem, right? Screw Twitter lives and screw Biden, vote green.
There was no extraordinary measures to keep anybody off the ballot. Dean Phillips got on the ballot. It's just that nobody...
I don't mean official actions.
That's not the point.
I mean, like, just the way this, like, the allergy to democracy, for instance, how Bernie was still facing attacks when he was trying to run in 2016 for the Obama thing in 2012. Like, that's a fundamentally anti-democratic strain in this party that has got us to where...
Make me dab. All right, hold on. Before we continue, I'll do the dab. I'll do it proper. How about that? I'll do a dab too. Different kind of dab, I imagine. I thought you were going to do a dab of concentrate. No, I don't have that on me. No, I don't have that on me.
Where we are now.
Or the deference to incumbency. That can, that's, I think, maybe something where we could just take a lesson forward, Sam, right? Where it's like, perhaps the time to... Because
I resent hearing about how there was a primary already and people voted. Like, sure. I mean, in name, maybe.
Who is it that did what you're talking about? Because I can point to 8 people who could have run, but didn't because they chose not to. Yes, people politic, but I don't...
But that's the problem. Like, it is... The way that the DNC operates makes it so that this happens. But all of this is moot at the end of the day, because now we're here, and right now Biden can make the decision to step down. That's it. That's it. Biden can make the decision right now. He can go on the news right now and say, you know what? You're right. I'm stepping down here. Take the torch, and that's it.
I think that there is a system or a place anywhere where people aren't going to politic. You're going to get criticized for running against an incumbent. That is without a doubt. But I don't know of any system where that wouldn't be the case.
The problem is, like, it's not that the system, we need to develop or have had developed that system, and it hasn't been developed. So that's why we're here now.
I just think that's the lesson for going forward in that sense. Potentially, I mean, it also just pairs with the fact that the Democratic Party has become way too obsessed.
Right. They basically said it was going to be Biden, right? Like, here's a question. I have a question. If I were to be able to be in the room, here's a question. If more people decided to run in the primary, how do we square the fact that, like, there were several states, I think Michael Hasser just pointed out, North Carolina, where there was no other, effectively there was no primary. What about Florida? There was effectively no primary. Would it have mattered if 5 more people jumped into the race? If at the end of the day, they could just be like, we're not going to do the primary here. Just to be very clear, the fact that the primary system in and of itself is a privilege that is being granted by the DNC. They don't have to do any of this, technically. If only the presidential physician had to go to operate in a fiduciary capacity to the nation, they would be obligated to tell Biden to step down or just have him committed to hospice. Yep. The DNC literally sued to prevent the primary. Yeah, so like, what?
With seniority as a matter of principle, like part of why the Congressional Black Caucus is not officially, but standing by Biden at this point is because they respect seniority more than like at this level.
I don't think that's
where
right.
it's enabled a gerund to.
The DNC also argued that they have the right to rig said primary, right? Because it's not like an official election, technically, right? So they could technically just say we're not having one at all. In fact, they could tomorrow vote on the new rules going, or rather, when the convention happens, they could literally just vote that there will never be any more primaries ever, and that the super delegates or delegates, will select the nominee every time. They could technically do that. If they so choose. The DNC is not allowing any other third party here on the ballot. The Democrat Party is among the least democratic institutions in politics.
Democratic kind of basically inertia within the Democratic Party.
Yeah, the DNC is pretty bad.
I don't think that's why
it's
the
boxed
CBC
out
is doing
democracy.
that.
I mean, the thing is like, what's his name? I can't even remember now. The Jim Crowite that's representing Mount Vernon now. Like there was the way the party treat his challenge to a sitting Democrat versus the way it's treating others is just stark to me. And that's they're throwing soil on a coffin as far as I'm concerned.
There is no doubt that there is a bias against progressives, whether they're incumbents or they're challengers. That I have no doubt with that. But I think the reason why the CBC is nervous about having Harris as the president is because this is a least of two bad situations. It's a bad situation to have have Harris step in. It's a worse situation to have her not step in. But the cost associated that I think some people in the Congressional Black Caucus probably perceive with having Harris come in with an uphill climb, right, in this situation, with one hand tied behind her back on some level because it doesn't have the she's sort of inserted into the situation, is that if she loses as a black woman, there's a lot of people who are going to be like, this is going to set back the candidacy of black people, of women for an extent.
I disagree. I think that's I think the term we're looking for is, I think that's cope. I think that's silly. I think that's silly. I don't think Sam thinks that. I think he's thinking that they're thinking along that line, but like that's silly.
But I don't necessarily agree with that, though.
Well, they may be wrong, but that's
but she doesn't have an associate. She was a very green senator from California. A lot of the Congressional Black Caucus leadership is Southern and older and more associated with the Biden era of politics, and those are where those connections are made. Kamala Harris, I don't think, has those relationships. I think that's part of the problem, right?
Firefly, welcome. She sucks as a candidate, whatever her ethnicity is.
I mean, she's what? How long was she a senator before she was snagged as vice president?
I mean, Clyburn walked up to it. He got nervous. Pelosi, who certainly you could describe as having all the things you just mentioned. I mean, I think she's
weighing it according to Axios.
Yes, that's my point. Is that I think that if you look at why there was fear about Barack Obama running in the black community. The black community, he had the least amount of support in the black community of multiple before he could start to win in Iowa, because
the black community or the black Congressional Black Caucus, which is entirely different, because a majority of black voters say that Biden is too old to serve. So there,
man, Sam's just getting freaking cooked. Sam's getting cooked alive live on his own damn stream. Jesus Christ.
they're not representing I'm honestly, actually, this is not anything to do with what you're saying. I'm so disgusted to see the way the Democratic Party uses black people in their extremely cynical ploys when Biden is going out to black radio stations at this point and apparently got this, and this host got fired because she agreed to these pre-prepared questions that the Biden campaign provided for them. And then he goes to a black church in order to paper over his horrific debate performance without actually dealing with the fact that black voters in this country, when polled, have deep concerns about his candidacy. I think it's actually really gross, and that's the problem. There's a disconnect between the CBC and what general people in the country and within the Democratic Party think, which has been the case for quite a while. And I will also say, the Democrats have not won an election since Bill Clinton, a presidential election without a black person on the ticket.
Yeah, that's true.
Obama twice.
That's actually true. Maybe a mod can talk to him. Nah. Us lowly Twitch mods? Doubt it. Although that would be nice to call in. The Democrat Party weaponizes identity politics in the worst ways. That's true. Emma for president.
And Kamala Harris is vice president.
True.
I think it's overblown. And I think it's a lot of people being scared. But the problem is that going down this road, we're guaranteeing a Trump victory. I mean, this is where we're at this point.
And not even a good fight. A Trump victory might be in the cards. It'd be nice to put up a fight and elaborate.
But you keep saying when we are going down this road, the point is that there is a calculation that people are making that they cannot dislodge Biden. And if you cannot dislodge Biden and you are terrified of a Trump presidency, at one point it's a game of chicken. And if he says, I am willing to crash this and go over the ledge, then if you are afraid of it,
then you get out of the way, Sam. You don't get in the car that's going to crash. You get out of the car and out of the way. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is painful because, don't get me wrong. I love and respect Sam. He's just wrong here. Okay.
The Trump presidency and are not going to be satisfied by saying at least Biden gave it his all, then you back off that precipice because you have no other chance and then you got to you support him. I mean, that's what's going on here.
Well, they're hedging, but the point is that they keep saying this week. Chris Murphy last night on MSNBC. We'll see how this week plays out.
He's going to prove himself.
They're waiting for more data. They're waiting for this press conference that Biden does on Thursday.
They're waiting for him to fall apart again to make it easier. And if he doesn't fall apart, there's really not a lot they can do.
I'm aware that it's not.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter. There's 4 months, less than 4 months to the election. Do you think that how much of an impact? Like, let's not forget that before all of this, the polls were not looking that great to begin with. It wasn't looking that great to begin with. There's never been a greater need for a left-leaning party and candidate who runs on the platform of, hey folks, I just want to make your life better. If only.
There's a lot that they can do to convince Biden, except for the fact that every time I turn on my television, it's the only story. And it will not go away. It is the only story. We're not talking about, and I if I see one more person be like, talk about Project 2025 instead of this, that's fair. But there's only so much of that can happen. This is actually an issue of national interest where there's people I know, like family members who don't vote, who were like, I hate Trump, but this guy, they're lying to us again. And I know this is anecdotal, but it's backed up by the data and all of the polling that we're seeing where this.
France had their election in 2 months. That's true.
This is actually really making people feel deeply cynical long-term about the political system. And as I said on the Friday about Monday replacing him with Kamala Harris, the Democrats have a built-in advantage to be the party that listens when both people hate these candidates. And Kamala Harris is polling at least 1 point right now ahead of Trump when Biden's down. And at this time last year, Biden was up by 8 points in the national average. The Democrats have to overperform 3 to 4 points in the popular vote, as a rule, for the most part, for them to win the Electoral College. And then Biden is also down in every swing state and putting Virginia, Wisconsin in peril, New Mexico, unthinkable, Minnesota. We're not just talking about a Trump victory.
Sam's like the Minister of Magic, Cornelius Fudge in Harry Potter refused to accept Voldemort's return. Right, yeah, that's the vibes I'm getting from this exchange.
Talking about a Trump victory with both chambers. And that should be 5-alarm fire for any party that actually tries to represent the people and says that they apparently claim that this is a threat to democracy. And my rights are on the line here to get an abortion. If I want one or if I need one, my rights are on the line. We're going to play around with this. So I know I'm emotional about this, but I'm scared. And I do think that it's a salient political point if you have the first female president potentially with abortion on the ballot in 2 of those swing states, Nevada and in Arizona, in addition to Florida, Montana, and Arkansas, where Democrats could overperform with it on the ballot.
I mean, Osita Nwanevu made the exact point that they are absolutely blowing it with generations as far as political messaging goes. And that's the thing is I think that Trump is going to win now. I hope he doesn't. I hope Biden, if he's going to stay in, I hope he loses. I think that we need to start preparing for what it's going to look like. Yeah. Because the thing is if want to avoid Project 2025 is clearly the Democrats investing your time in Democrats, like the party, is not exactly the greatest thing to do. I think we need to be preparing broader organizations, like the people who opposed, the organizations that developed, say, proposing the Muslim ban, these sort of direct action things, because that's where we're at now. And that's how things have gotten done in this country, is people realizing that actually, the election's good. I hope that the balance of power comes out as favorably as possible going forward. But these people are not to be trusted with anything that they actually put in a campaign email.
And I want to say one more thing. Quit it with the polling is wrong. Quit it. This is MAGA level delusion.
Thank you. You know, I got crap for talking about this months ago. And guess what? The polls haven't gotten any better, have they? The polls haven't gotten any better. Ayo sure needs to hear this. Yeah, they do. Emma's on fire here and 100% right. Yep.
Seeing from Democrats about the polling. The polling was within 1 point of accuracy for the last midterm cycle, and Republicans overperformed by 1. And the last midterm cycle before that, it was right in line. Democrats overperformed by a point. And with the 2020 election, actually, it was pretty dead on for Biden, but the margins were incredibly thin.
Oh, and by the way, so was the 2016 poll. By the way.
Because of our electoral college system. So I don't want to hear this like completely eschewing of facts enabled by Biden and his complete delusion about polling. Lying. Yeah, it is. It's wrong. It's wrong. We have to take the polls seriously, and you know, this is crossing ideological lines. This is from the Pod Save America guys to a guy like Adam Smith, who's on one of the more conservative Democrats in the House, ranking member of Armed Services.
Yeah, again, 4 months out, and the numbers, the trajectory, the trend, whatever you want to call it, has not improved. It has actually slid to the negative. Okay? Seriously, look at it. A visual like representation. I'm on the side that says polls say what they want them to say because the language of the polls is not constant. Stop making some knowledge reality. It's too hard. Yeah, but like it's just too much. Like yeah. I'm not saying to rely on one single poll. I'm always advocating to look at the trend of all the aggregate of different polls from different ideological perspectives. These are all different. These are conservative polls. These are more liberal polls. These are, look, Fox News has a Biden plus, like, even in Fox News, Biden +2. So you get, like, you need all of these aggregate to just kind of get an idea of where it's pointing to. And it's not great. It's not good. There are some polls and pollsters trying to get a specific narrative, but there's also a lot of good polling. Yeah, so you kind of need to just kind of squish as much data as possible and interpret where the trend is, and it's not good. It's just not. It's just not. And it's not always the one you think. Fox News does decent polling. I'll be danged. Even in a 5-way, where it's Trump, Biden, Kennedy, West, and Stein, Trump is ahead as well.
To the pollsters like Nate Cohn, to Nate Silver, they all are united in saying 5-alarm fire. And so I know there's very little democratic mechanism to influence the Biden administration here, but the more it's in the conversation, the more in this tiny window, the more I think there's a likelihood.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, he's Matt Iglesias came out against him. That's his one of his favorite writers, apparently.
And Tom Friedman. And also Dick Durbin is still undecided. We'll see what happens with the Senate meeting.
I mean,
in the
I think
afternoon,
honestly,
but
these meetings this afternoon are going to be the big tell. If they don't come out of it with a sense that the caucuses are against this, maybe they say we're going to have another meeting Friday. But I think it's a real problem. Now, I don't know how long his press conference is on Thursday night. My guess is that if there's any indication that there's not a strong push to get rid of him coming out of these meetings, that press conference is going to be about 15 minutes, and they're going to take 3 questions, and he's going to know, like, look, the best thing for me to do is just not put myself out there in any way at this point, because I can only it's mine to lose at that point.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
100%.
And here's the problem. Here's the problem. We all freaking lose.
No, I got a text last night. He referenced, some of his family members, but a buddy of mine, not, hugely political, but he's like, I'm convinced every white person 65 and above is selfish and entitled. It was basically
my parents are in their 60s, and they're like, get the hell out, because we got to defeat Trump. So
he's like, and then we just kept adding people: Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Breyer. It goes on, but
true. Plus, it's not his to lose. That would imply a hefty lead or any lead at all.
And it's not about the Democratic voters, too. It's about the independents. Like, that's what I can't say. If I go out and vote for Biden, we still love Biden. Sure, the Democrats will vote for Biden. That's not the question.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, people are like, don't you think that you're voting administration? Yeah, I've been saying that for over a year now. But getting the American public, the American electorate to understand that's a pretty big ask to be the most savvy election people to fill out a ballot. It's just not going to happen.
No. Comrade Wiki, what does preparing for a second Trump term even look like? Packing a bag? No, the point being that you go out, you start to organize. I mean, you don't
Justice
really need
Democrats expanded, Socialist orgs expanded. These are the type of organizations that people like, whatever it is, whether it's Justice Dems, whether it's even just Democrats. Like, I saw people signing up voters in Philly, like within a party, but not oriented towards this presidential campaign, because I think it's a loser.
I also think, frankly, it's a good time to just develop networks with your neighbors and, email lists, start sharing, because what you're doing is you're setting up an organization. You don't necessarily have a task at this point, per se, but you're developing relationships. I mean, this is, one of the things that Jane McAlevey really pushed, is that you're constantly organizing, even if there is no necessarily, specific agenda or goal in front of your face at that moment, because there will be. Eventually, there will be. And you need to develop these relationships before that moment, because it just makes it much easier to mobilize when you are already organized. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
I think we'll end on this one. Biden support, or not the stream, but this topic. Biden support slips in deep blue New York. We're a battleground state now. President Biden has a new problem, a competitive race in deep blue New York. Elected officials, union leaders, and political consultants are panicking over polls showing a steady erosion of Biden's support in a state he won by 23 points 4 years ago. They're so worried they've been trying to convince the Biden team to pour resources into New York to shore up his campaign and boost Democrats running in half dozen swing districts that could determine the control of the House. Biden aides have not focused on New York, committing no significant resources to a state where they expect the president will easily win all 28 electoral college votes in November. But the warning signs are impossible to ignore and have been building over the past year. Two private polls conducted in a swing New York House district and reviewed by Politico, one in September and another in March, found that former President Trump is leading by Biden there by 1 point, a virtual tie. A public poll over the last 4 months found Biden's lead had winnowed to just 8 points across New York, an unusually narrow gap in a state where Democrats outnumber Republicans 2-1. Quote, "We're still acting like this is a one-party state for pretty much 20 to 25 years it has been," said Democratic Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine. Said, "Truly, I believe we are now a battleground state." Hey, that's cool. Sam may have lost subscribers today. Maybe. I mean, like, I don't know. I think Emma kind of keeps that, keeps the flow going. Biden, whose campaign, even when Sam's wrong, like, the thing is, like, what I like is that, Emma can confront Sam. Emma can go back and forth with Sam. I think that's worth. Biden, whose campaign is in freefall after a shambling debate performance last month, is yet to pay much attention to the state beyond high-dollar fundraisers. He was most recently in New York on June 29th to raise money in the Hamptons and attend a dedication ceremony for Stonewall Inn Visitor Center in Manhattan a day earlier. He has been appearing in traditional battleground states, including Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, over the weekend as the 81-year-old tries to silence doubts over his age and mental acuity, and failing. Now Democrats want Biden to get serious about the Empire State as they warn of the existential crisis to democracy posed by Trump's potential return to the White House, according to interviews with the Democratic Party officials, consultants, and political leaders. Yeah, so TLDR, like, it's so bad that, like, New York is competitive. New York is in play for the presidency, but it is important for the House. Right, and he's hurting those swing districts that will potentially determine the House, who controls the House. Amazing. Amazing. It was mostly New York that gave Republicans control of the House in 2022. That awful redistricting job. Yep. I have a question. Has David Pakman weighed in on this? Is he still Has David Pakman weighed in on this? Don't think so? I don't know. I haven't checked in with Pakman in a while. Anyways. Pakman was on C-SPAN the other morning, mostly talking about Trump. On C-SPAN? Calling in on C-SPAN? Las Vegas on track to set record for most consecutive days over 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Hey, nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here, folks. Las Vegas is on track to set a record for the most consecutive days over 115 degrees Fahrenheit amid a lingering hot spell that will continue scorching much of the U.S. into the week. A guest alone with some conservative media guy arguing between them. Gotcha. Forecasters say the desert city will probably hit a record fifth straight day above 115 degrees Fahrenheit on Wednesday. Even by desert standards, the prolonged baking that the city is experiencing is nearly unprecedented. Cosmopolitics rating with a party of 15. Welcome, everybody. Thank you. I appreciate it. If you're new here and you don't know who I am a Difficult Truth. I do the news, I do the politics. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you so much for bringing your wonderful community here, Cosmopolitics. Please consider giving her a follow. Welcome indeed. Hope you're doing well. It is dangerous. Quote, this is the most extreme heat wave in history of record keeping in Las Vegas since 1937, said meteorologist John Adair, a veteran of 3 decades at the National Weather Service office in southern Nevada. Tuesday's high temperatures tied the mark for 4 straight days above 115, set in July 2005, and Adair said the record could be extended through Friday. The extended heat wave comes with serious dangers, health officials have emphasized. Even people of average age who are seemingly healthy can suffer heat illness when it's so hot it's hard for your body to cool down, said Alexis Brignola, an epidemiologist at the Southern Nevada Health District. While hotels and casinos kept visitors cool with giant AC units, the scorching heat presented acute danger for homeless residents and others without access to safe environments. Officials have set up emergency cooling centers at community centers across southern Nevada. Firefighters in Henderson, Nevada last week became the first in the region to deploy what city spokesperson Madeline Skanes called polar pods. The pods, first deployed in Phoenix, can be filled with water and ice to immerse a medical patient in cold water on the way to the hospital. Jeez, but water's woke. Folks, also, thank you, Heat. If you enjoy your stay, don't forget, feel free to hit the follow button. Consider joining the Discord and subscribing on the YouTube, merch store, all that awesome stuff. Thank you all. The intense heat wave hitting Las Vegas has been searing much of the U.S. West in recent days, with several places setting heat records and reporting fatalities. In Oregon, the city of Portland saw record daily temperatures on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Salem set a new record hitting 103 degrees Fahrenheit on Sunday. The excessive temperatures are suspected to have caused 6 deaths in the state medical examiner's office said on Tuesday. In California, the heat was blamed for a motorcyclist's death in Death Valley National Park. Death Valley is considered one of the most extreme environments in the world. The hottest temperature ever officially recorded on Earth was 134 degrees Fahrenheit in July 1913 in Death Valley, though some experts dispute that measurement and say the real record was 130, recorded there in July of 2021. On Tuesday, tourists visiting the park queued for photos in front of a giant thermometer that was reading 120. Phoenix, Arizona, which has averaged the hottest temperature ever for the first 8 days of July and records dating back to 1885, tied the daily record on Tuesday of 116 set in 1958. Triple digits were also recorded in Idaho. Reno, Nevada broke its daily record with 104 degrees on Fahrenheit on Tuesday and was suffering through the longest streak ever of days hitting 105 or higher. Before this week, the city, at an elevation of 4,500 feet, had never been that hot for more than 2 consecutive days in records dating back to 1888. U.S. heat waves come as global temperatures in June set a record for 13th straight month and marked the 12th straight month the world was 1.5 degrees Celsius warmer than pre-industrial times, the European Climate Service Copernicus said. And that's with humidity. Most of this heat trapped by the human-caused climate crisis is from long-term warming from greenhouse gases emitted by burning of coal, oil, and natural gas. Scientists said extreme heat is exacerbating the threat of wildfires across the U.S. West, where a long-standing drought has dried out vegetation that fuels blazes. A new fire in Oregon, dubbed the Larch Creek Fire, quickly grew to more than 5 square miles on Tuesday evening as flames tore through grasslands in Wasco County. Evacuations were ordered for remote homes about 15 miles south of Dales. In California, firefighters were battling at least 18 wildfires on Tuesday, including a 42 square mile blaze that prompted evacuation orders for 200 residents in the mountains of Santa Barbara County. That blaze, called the Lake Fire, was only 16% contained, and forecasters warned of a volatile combination of heat, low humidity, and northwest winds developing later in the day. And northeast of LA, the 2 square mile Vista Fire chewed through trees in the San Bernardino National Forest and sent up a huge plume of smoke visible across the region. The National Weather Service said it's extending the excessive heat warnings across most of the Southwest through Saturday morning. So that's cool. Very cool. Very normal. Everything's fine, folks. And this is what Cami Kazian was talking about. AOC unveils articles of impeachment against Justice Thomas and Alito. Representative I'm from Santa Barbara County originally. Wow. That place is on fire. Representative AOC and a group of House progressives on Wednesday, today, introduced articles of impeachment against conservative Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. It's a long-shot element of broader legislative push by House Democrats to rein in the court after a spate of decisions in June that incensed liberals. Yeah, that's the reason. It made them mad. The resolution accused Thomas and Alito of refusing to recuse from cases which they had personal bias or prejudice concerning a party, as well as a failure to disclose income, gifts, and other financial info. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about it. The articles targeting Thomas include a third charge, refusal to recuse from matters involving his spouse's financial interests in cases before the court. No doubt about it. Beautiful area. A bunch of my family is in SoCal. Well, I hope everyone's doing okay. Which they should have done 3 years ago. I'm not disputing that. I agree. The resolution points to lavish gifts both justices received from benefactors reportedly involved in or connected to cases before the Supreme Court. The measure also points to the involvement of Ginny Thomas in order to overturn the 2020 election, and reports of Stop the Steal symbols at Alito's properties to argue that the recusal from January 6 related cases was warranted as well. The articles of impeachment are co-sponsored by progressives Representative Barbara Lee, Rashida Tlaib, Bonnie Watson, Coleman, Delia Ramirez, Maxwell Frost, Ilhan Omar, and Jamal Bowman. Thomas attorney Elliot Burke said in a statement late last August that the justice has always strived for full transparency and adherence to law and has never accepted a gift from anyone with business before the court. Sure, Thomas himself reportedly dismissed scrutiny of his financial disclosures as negativity in May, right? Like, we're not going to offer an actual counter argument. We're just going to suggest, vaguely point to negativity, whatever that means. Alito's representatives have similarly rebutted allegations of financial conflicts of interest, and he has denied involvement in an upside-down American flag and an appeal to heaven flag that flew outside two of his houses, saying his wife was responsible. Whatever. You can try to spin this as much as you want. A Supreme Court spokesperson did not immediately respond for a request to comment. Will these articles actually go anywhere? I don't know. I suspect they won't. But nonetheless, I think they are warranted. They have the moment that ProPublica expose dropped about Clarence Thomas. That's when that should have been filed. The moment all of that expose came out about Clarence Thomas and a couple of the other justices dropped, that is the moment that these articles should have dropped. But nonetheless, necessary, in my opinion. All right, we got one more, folks. The U.S. House, but this is what the House of Representatives is concerned. The Republicans in the House are concerning themselves with. U.S. House to vote on bill requiring proof of citizenship to vote, despite that there's no evidence of non-citizen ballots because it doesn't exist. Congressional Republicans will vote on this week on a bill to require people to show proof of citizenship to register to vote, a move that comes as they lay the groundwork for undermining election results in November. Hey, here's a quick question. How do you think people get registered to vote? The House will vote on the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Bill, or SAVE Act, which would make states require in-person, okay, so we're just adding extra barriers, in-person documents that prove a person is a U.S. citizen when registering to vote. This include a real ID, passport, or other kind of identification that show a person's place of birth. It wouldn't include a standard driver's license as a sole form of identification, and calls for a secondary proof of place of birth alongside it, like a birth certificate. It also calls for states to remove non-citizens from their roles and for the Homeland Security Department to potentially start deportation process for people unlawfully registered. There can be people who are unlawfully registered but American citizens, like, for example, a felon may accidentally be registered and not actually eligible to vote. These changes, voting rights advocates warn, would prevent some U.S. citizens from voting, such as those who don't have proper documentation or the ability to provide it in person. The bill could lead to people who are able to vote, such as naturalized citizens, college students, and tribal voters, being removed from voter rolls. It is already illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. It is also illegal to register to vote if you aren't eligible. Federal registration forms require you to attest that you are a U.S. citizen. Some local elections allow non-citizen participation, but that's not the norm. There's no evidence of widespread non-citizen voting because it doesn't exist. Was there even a singular case? Seriously, I'm actually curious. Was there ever, especially in the 2020 election? Let's not go too far. The 2020 election and the 2016 election, was there actually a single case where a non-citizen was casting a vote? It didn't happen. I saw, if that was the case, we would be seeing this plastered on Fox News 24/7 for that for the entirety of that news cycle and then some. It just didn't happen. I guess maybe it happened, but I didn't see a single case of that actually happening. Trump pressured Congress to approve the bill on Tuesday, writing on Truth Social, quote, "Republicans must pass the SAVE Act or go home and cry yourself to sleep. No citizen illegal migrants are getting the right to vote, being pushed by crooked Democrat politicians who are not being stopped by an equally dishonest Justice Department. Our whole voting system is under siege." Yeah, not a thing that's happening. The bill is unlikely to pass in the Democrat-controlled Senate or make it into law, as the Biden White House said it does not approve of it. The White House said in a statement it strongly opposes the bill, indicating the president would veto it if it somehow made it to his desk. Quote, "This bill would do nothing to safeguard our elections, but it would make it much harder for eligible Americans to register and vote and increase the risk that eligible voters are purged from voter rolls." Exactly, which is the point. That's exactly the point. Non-citizens voting has become a key plank for Republicans as it combines two red meat issues, racism, xenophobia, and I suppose conspiracy delusional theories. So basically that's the red meat issues, right? You gotta be xenophobic and conspiracy brained. Two red meat issues in the Trump era: illegal immigration and voter fraud. With an influx of asylum seekers coming into the country in the Biden administration, Trump and his allies have turned up the heat on non-citizen voting claims, a longtime Republican talking point. Far-right figures, including Cleta Mitchell, have formed a coalition to push the idea. Heritage Action, the political arm of the conservative think tank behind Project 2025, considers approval of the SAVE Act a key vote in its scorecard for lawmakers. Elon Musk, of course, the fascist owner of Twitter, promoted the bill as well because, of course, as well alluding to the death penalty as consequence for people who didn't support the SAVE Act. Those who oppose this are traitors, all caps. Traitors. What is the penalty for traitors again? Oh man. Oof. Terms of service. Anyways, proponents of the bill have not offered any proof that rampant non-citizen voting or even non-citizens registering to vote is happening, relying instead of on gut feelings. Yeah, this feels over facts, 100%. Because, like, again, the question is when these clowns try to do stuff like this in the name of voter integrity or election integrity, I should say, the immediate question is, okay, so where is the evidence that this is happening? One, follow-up question, will this actually prevent, after you've proven that this is a problem, will this actually be a solution to said problem? Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, said during a press conference on the bill that, quote, we all know intuitively, no we don't, who's we? We is a lot of people, who, that a lot of illegals are voting in federal elections. That's just not true. It's just not true. But that's not. But it's not been something that is easily provable. It is actually very easily provable. We have robust checks. We have robust ways of making sure that that's not a thing. Okay. The bill is just one part of Republican efforts to go after the perceived non-citizen voting. An executive order from Biden in 2021 called on agencies to increase voter registration has become an unlikely source of pushback because of claims that it can involve registering non-citizens. The Tennessee Secretary of State sent out letters to some voters saying that they need to provide proof of citizenship, a move that is legally questionable at best, and that voting rights advocates have said amount to voter intimidation. It is. That's literally what it is. Some states have tried to require proof of citizenship or otherwise attempted to remove potential non-citizens from the rolls, resulting in legal battles and erroneously identifying thousands of qualified voters for potential removal, which is the point. That's exactly the point. Because even if they'll remove you, even if you're a qualified voter, and now you might not know that you've been removed. And B, now you have to do an entire process to get back to be able to exercise your right to vote, which is absurd. The U.S. Supreme Court has said that states can't require proof of citizenship for federal elections. Arizona voters approved the law in 2004 to require such proof in order to vote there. But the top court ruled in 2013 that the state could only require it for state or local elections, setting a bifurcated system for voting proof in Arizona. Amazing. Well, I do suspect that this has low chance of passing, if any. But this is what Republicans are currently interested in accomplishing. All right, folks. It is time. It's just under 7 o'clock. That works for me. All right, folks, I got to get going. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. Tomorrow, the stream may be a little precarious. I will let you guys know if there's a stream tomorrow, or if maybe it just turns into an early stream and do it that way. We'll see. Join the Discord, folks. That's the best way to keep up with the channel. Mouselander, thank you. Kamikazeon, thank you for stopping by. Heat, Michael Hasser, thank you for modding the channel. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you all for all the support. Thank you, Cosmopolitics, for rating. Left flank is up. All right, then let's go over there. I appreciate it. Thank you, Michael Hessler. Join the Discord, folks. Consider subscribing on the YouTube. Exactly. Join the YouTubes, folks. There has been quite a few of you liking the stream, and I appreciate it. Keep doing that. Join the Discord. Consider checking out the merch store and all that awesome stuff. Your support is what keeps this channel going. I appreciate it. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I'll be on. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Join the Discord, folks. That's the best way to keep up with the channel, all right? Thank you all. See ya. Oh, perfect. Hang tight, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.